Hello guys, welcome. So today we are going to be talking about contrast and you know contrast and it's still kind of under last time we talked about abstraction, still kind of under that. Well, contrast is like comparison and not just comparison and differences. Things stand out. For example, let's say this is our canvas, and if we have different balls or spheres inside, there's no much difference. Everything look the same. They are like these, for example, shapes. So when we bring contrast form into shape, then they become a form. So that is circle to sphere, and that is all we're talking about. When something has no contrast, it's just flat. At this point, this our canvas is just flat. Everything is the same. Everything is just there. So, but to create something, we'll look at some examples also. But to create something that has contrast, so differences, so it can be big to small. I did not add that here initially. Straight curve, there are differences and it attracts the eye. Big, small, this has more dynamism compared to this. You can see it yourself. So we need contrast to show the differences, in form, structure, light hitting the form, shading and stuff like that. And it's useful. Contrast is useful not just for painting but also your drawing. Useful for animation, especially when it comes to staging. So contrast is important. So big to small, you know, straight to curve, soft to hard, warm, cool. Those opposites. It helps to create, like in economics, what they call scale of preference. Some things come before others. Some things are more important than others. The same thing in painting. In your painting, you are trying to tell, excuse me, you are trying to tell a story. So the main characters, antagonist, protagonist, stuff like that. So maybe, okay, let's look at some paintings. This is a painting of painter self portrait by Sargent. You see, as you look at the painting, you see how this part of the painting is out in light. See how the light, there's a little light here also. See how the light hits those points. If we now, that is pushing those points out. So light and darkness, I think we talked about that. Okay, we not talk about, write that down. Also light and shadow, better word than darkness. So that is what we are talking about. So then you see there's this dynamism to the painting. It doesn't look like this my video where, though you can see, if you look a little bit, you can see that there's light coming from this point, but it looks more dynamic. This portrait looks more dynamic than most pictures or most painting. So what we are seeing, we have the head, we have our figure. You can see how at this point here, we see lost edge, soft edge, hard edge. That's what I wrote there. So lost edge here. At this point, you see the light is here, and we have hard edge here, well defined. All these points we have soft edge, lost edges. See how it create this very unique painting, creates a unique picture, a dynamic picture, and that is what we're seeing here. That's what I'm trying to show you here. Here you have even inside we have lost edges. From this point here we have, here's a little bit sharp, we have shadow here, lost edges. See from this point, lost is more defined because of that color, but when you go down it's lost too. You can push it down. This point we have lost edges too, very soft. We have the ears, the ear, and it is very defined form. And that is what we are talking about. Create a very unique image. This contrast prioritizes things before others. The face comes, everything directs us to the face first. You see the first eye, let's zoom in. See the eyes. There's more highlights here, bringing you to the mid section of the painting. So it brings you in. See how the light pushes you here. So all this is part of composition, and it's things we ought to know how to use for our own good, for our own favor. And all this applies also in animation. Your character walks in. If you noticed in movies, in animation also, things come before others. There's sometimes where it's part of the story where every character in the scene or in the scene or in the shot are talking, and the whole idea is they want you not to really get an individual character making a point. The point is it's noisy, you can't hear what the individual characters are saying. But then there are some times where this person talks, then this person responds, then this person talks, then this person, just calculated. So you want that they direct your eye through the movie. This happens and that happens, and because in real life things happen. This person is doing his own thing, this other person is doing his own thing. So but when we are making a movie, when we are making animation, we need to direct the audience where we want, because we are in charge. You have your camera on this character, and then you go 160 to the other character, but this character is still alive and is doing his thing. But it's not important to us, it's not important to what we are saying at this point. The importance is the response, and it needs to be gotten. You need to have that response to create a full story. So the same thing applies in painting too, in drawing, in animation, stuff like that. Scale of preference, like I said. Some stories come before other. Some characters, that's why we have main characters, supporting character, lead character, stuff like that. Lead and main character. So now look at this other painting. This too is Sargent. You see the hand and the cigar is in light, the face is in light, hand is in light, look at how everything outside there just disappears and is lost in shadow. And that is how light works. That's how light works. Same thing when you see light coming from this side, you see how here becomes dark. You don't get much um, information. So some painters will say, let your details be in the light. And see in the shadow, let me take these things off. In the shadow, there is no details there. There is no information. The information are in the light. So let your information be in the light. You're creating a portrait, and your light is coming from this point, you know. Now, but this applies to when you have a direction of light. There are sometimes your character is fully lit. I've made paintings like that, full lit, and there is a lot of light, not just direct light. There's kind of ambient light, and it's shining in the whole face. So there's a way to tackle that also, but we are not there yet. We are looking at contrast, but it still applies to that also. But let's say we are creating something like this, and your light is coming from this area, you know, this point. So we have our ear, the neck, you know. This is what we are talking about. If the light does not reach the background, then you have this. So this is exactly what Sargent did there, and that is what we are talking about. You see how it comes out. It's detailed. You can see everything happening in the painting, and that is exactly what we are talking about. Some things come before others, and know how to use this, you know, to your advantage. Don't be a slave to this. Is a tool. You are in control. You are the painter. So don't be something. No, how is it always like that? I remember watching Glenn Vilpo, and sometimes when he's drawing, he will, if the reference is not um clear, it's not clean, maybe it's not well lit, he draws the hand, the arm, the way he wants. He just, you know, go about it the way he feels it should be. You just go about it and say, okay, maybe it's not well lit, but I'm just going to do that. That is the importance of being in control, knowing structure forms, so that when maybe an image or a reference is not working, there are photographs that are messed up. So if you are an artist, you don't want to create a work. That's why we have photographers even. If we are just trying to capture reality, everybody can do that. Everybody can get a camera and capture reality. But we have photographers who can paint a story with the image and create something unique that just ordinary individuals cannot. Um, a pose, a perspective, you know, an arrangement, a composition, the way to arrange the light, the way to add some little props in the image to create something absolutely unique. So that is what we are talking about when we look at painting, and when we talk about painting, and when we talk about contrast. This is what we are talking about. This comes first, that goes back, and the layers stuff like that. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something, even if it's little from it. And like, subscribe, and comment if you have any question. I'll be here to respond to you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.